It all started at McGreevy's pub on a Friday night. The place was packed, buzzing with chatter and clinking glasses. I wasn't there for a night out, I just needed some space to think. My name's Luke, and up until recently, I thought I had my life pretty much figured out. A good job, a decent house, and a wife, Erica, who I thought was the love of my life. But lately, things had been off, way off. Erica's behavior had shifted in ways I couldn't ignore. Late nights at work, secretive texts, and that cold distance in her touch, I chalked it up to stress, but something gnawed at me, whispering that there was more. Still, I wasn't prepared for what was about to go down that night. As I sat nursing my drink, lost in thought, I barely noticed the two burly men who walked in. They were big, real big. Beards like lumberjacks and a look in their eyes that screamed trouble. I didn't think much of it until they made a beeline for me. "You know who we are, you bastard," one of them growled, his voice like gravel. Before I could respond, his fist connected with my shoulder, knocking me off balance. "What the hell?" I started, but the other guy shoved me back into my chair. "You've been screwing around with our wives," the first man barked, his face inches from mine. "Wait, what? You've got the wrong guy," I shouted, trying to make sense of what was happening. But they weren't listening. The second guy swung at me, and instinct kicked in. I dodged, barely, and threw a punch that landed square on his jaw. The impact was satisfying, but the adrenaline didn't stop the reality from sinking in. These guys were dead serious. Their accusations were ridiculous. I didn't even know who their wives were, but something told me this wasn't random. Someone had set me up. The bar erupted into chaos. Chairs scraped against the floor, and people scattered to avoid the fight. The bartender yelled for us to take it outside, but the two men weren't backing down. "Think you can play innocent? We've got proof," one of them spat, pulling out a phone. Before I could process what he meant, a bouncer stepped in and broke up the fight. "Out! All of you," he barked, shoving us toward the door. Once outside, the cold night air hit me, but my mind was spinning. Proof? Proof of what? I didn't have time to dwell on it, though, because as the men stormed off, one of them shouted over his shoulder, "You'll pay for this, Luke." Standing there on the sidewalk, fists clenched and heart pounding, I realized two things. 1, someone wanted to ruin me. 2, I was going to find out who, and why. But as I headed home that night, bruised and furious, I had no idea just how deep this rabbit hole would go. The drive home felt like it stretched for hours. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, my thoughts racing as I replayed the confrontation in the bar. The accusations those men threw at me didn't just sting, they opened a floodgate of paranoia I wasn't prepared to face. Who would go so far as to frame me? And for what? Erica's face flashed through my mind. I shook my head, almost as if I could physically push the thought away. No. She wouldn't. But wouldn't she? The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. Normally, Erica would leave a light on if she wasn't home yet, but these days, normal didn't mean much anymore. I stepped inside, my pulse quickening when I heard faint movement upstairs. For a split second, I thought about grabbing the baseball bat by the door. Instead, I quietly climbed the stairs. The bedroom door was ajar, and inside, Erica sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand. She jumped when she saw me. "Luke. You scared me," she said, quickly locking her screen and placing the phone face down beside her. That tiny action, the deliberate movement of her phone, ignited something in me. The doubts, the nagging suspicions, the pit in my stomach that had been growing for weeks, it all came roaring to the surface. "What are you doing sitting here in the dark?" I asked, trying to keep my tone even. She shrugged, her voice airy. "Just scrolling. I couldn't sleep." "Really? Scrolling in the dark?" She rolled her eyes, the same dismissive look she'd been giving me lately whenever I asked questions. What's with the third degree? You're home late. I didn't answer. Instead, I grabbed the remote and turned on the TV, the screen illuminating the room. It cast a stark light over her face, and for a moment, I thought I saw guilt flash in her eyes. Why are you acting so weird? She asked, folding her arms defensively. I could ask you the same thing, I shot back, stepping closer. You've been working late a lot, Erica. And don't even get me started on how secretive you've been with your phone. She laughed, but it was cold and hollow. Wow. Paranoid much? Are you seriously accusing me of something? I don't know, should I be? I countered, my voice rising. Because tonight, two guys I've never met tried to rearrange my face, claiming I've been messing around with their wives. Care to explain that? Her expression flickered. For a moment, just a fraction of a second, I saw something behind her facade. Fear? Guilt? Whatever it was, it vanished as quickly as it came. That's insane, she said, shaking her head. Luke, you're being ridiculous. I don't know anything about that. But I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. You don't know anything about it? Really? Because they sure seem to know a lot about me. Maybe you should think about who you've been hanging out with, she snapped, standing up. Maybe this has nothing to do with me. The audacity of her deflection made my blood boil. Don't you dare turn this around on me, I said, my voice trembling with anger. You've been lying to me, Erica. I don't have to be a detective to see it. Lying? She repeated, her tone laced with mockery. You're delusional. I'm not going to sit here and take this crap just because some drunk guys at a bar decided to blame you for their problems. I stared at her, my chest heaving. This wasn't the woman I married. This wasn't the Erica who used to look at me like I was her whole world. Whoever this was standing in front of me, I didn't recognize her. I want to see your phone, I said, my voice steady but firm. She scoffed. Are you serious right now? No. That's my private. Give me the damn phone, Erica. I shouted, the words exploding out of me before I could stop them. She froze, and for a moment, I thought she might actually hand it over. Instead, she picked it up, shoved it into her pocket, and pushed past me. I don't have to deal with this, she said, heading for the door. Running away isn't going to fix this, I called after her. You can't just keep lying. But she didn't stop. The sound of the front door slamming echoed through the house, leaving me standing there, alone and angrier than I'd ever been in my life. I sat down on the bed, my head in my hands. The image of her walking out the door burned in my mind. Every instinct in me screamed to follow her, to demand the truth, but something held me back. A sinking feeling in my gut whispered that whatever she was hiding, I wasn't ready to face it. That night, I barely slept. Every noise outside made me sit up, half expecting her to come home. But she didn't. When the sun finally rose, the anger inside me hadn't faded, it had solidified. I needed answers, and if she wasn't going to give them to me willingly, I'd find them myself. Whatever Erica was hiding, the truth was coming out. And God help her when it did. The next morning felt like walking into a battlefield after the fight had ended, silent but charged with tension. Erica still wasn't home, and her absence only deepened the pit in my stomach. I made coffee, trying to think through my next steps, but every sip tasted bitter. By the time noon rolled around, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. That was when my resolve solidified. If she wouldn't tell me the truth, I'd find it myself. Erica wasn't stupid, she wouldn't leave anything obvious lying around. But people get sloppy when they think they've got the upper hand. I went to the bedroom and opened her dresser drawers. Nothing unusual. same with the closet. Then I spotted her laptop. She always kept it on the nightstand, but now it was missing. My heart raced as I thought about what she might be hiding on there. Her tablet, though, she'd forgotten that. I grabbed it, powering it up and sitting on the bed. It was locked, of course. But Erica wasn't exactly creative with passwords. After 2 tries, I got it, Erica 1987. My hands trembled as I scrolled through her apps. Most were harmless, social media, streaming services, but when I opened her email, my heart stopped. There, under her sent folder, was an email chain that made my stomach turn. Subject: can't stop thinking about you. To redacted. I stared at the screen, my breathing shallow as I read the words. She wasn't just cheating, she was pouring her heart out to this person. Long paragraphs about missing their time together and how Luke wouldn't understand. My blood boiled as I read on. They'd been meeting at hotels, sneaking around like teenagers. Then I noticed something else, a thread with photos. I hesitated, but my anger outweighed my hesitation. When I opened it, my worst fears were confirmed. There she was, in some hotel room, grinning like a kid in a candy store, with someone who wasn't me. I slammed the tablet down, breathing heavily. The room spun as I tried to process what I'd seen. It wasn't just about the betrayal anymore. It was the lies, the deceit, the gall of her actions. Then came the text notification. It was her tablet, so naturally, it was synced to her phone. The message preview popped up. Last night was incredible. Can't wait to see you again. I couldn't read the rest before it disappeared. My rage was like a tidal wave crashing through me. How could she? After everything we'd built together? My phone buzzed, pulling me out of my spiral. It was a text from Erica. I'll be home later. Don't wait up. Don't wait up. Like she wasn't walking back into a marriage she'd stomped on with her betrayal. I knew then what I had to do. By the time Erica walked through the door that evening, I was ready. I sat at the kitchen table, her tablet next to me, the email chain open on the screen. She froze when she saw me, her keys still in her hand. "What's this?" I asked, my tone as calm as I could manage. She didn't answer right away, her eyes flicking from me to the tablet. Her face paled, but then something surprising happened, she smirked. "What, you've been snooping now," she said, dropping her bag on the counter. "Snooping?" I repeated, incredulous. "You don't get to play the victim here, Erica." "I know. About the emails. The photos. All of it." She crossed her arms, her expression defiant. "And what exactly do you think you know, Luke?" Her tone, her dismissiveness, it sent me over the edge. "I know you've been cheating. I know you've been sneaking off to hotels. I know you've been lying to my face for God knows how long." She laughed. Actually laughed. "And? What do you want me to say, Luke? That I'm sorry? That it didn't mean anything? Would that make you feel better?" Her words were like daggers, each one twisting deeper than the last. "Are you even sorry?" I asked, my voice cracking. She rolled her eyes. "What do you want from me? This marriage hasn't been working for years, and you know it. Maybe if you weren't so boring, so predictable, I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere." Her cruelty stunned me into silence. I'd braced myself for excuses, for apologies, for anything other than this. "Wow," I finally said, shaking my head. "So this is all my fault now?" "You always think everything is about you," she snapped. Maybe I wanted something for myself for once. Her words felt like acid, burning through any love I still had for her. I stood up, towering over her. "You wanted something for yourself? So you decided to destroy our marriage in the process? Don't be so dramatic, she said, rolling her eyes. People cheat all the time. It's not the end of the world. That was it. The last straw. I grabbed my keys and walked toward the door. Where are you going? She called after me, her tone still dismissive. Somewhere you can't lie to my face anymore, I said, slamming the door behind me. As I drove aimlessly through the night, a mix of fury and heartbreak consumed me. Erica's words kept echoing in my mind, people cheat all the time. How could she trivialize something so devastating? I didn't know where I was going, but I knew one thing for sure, I couldn't keep living in this sham of a marriage. Tomorrow, I'd call a lawyer. The next morning, I woke up on the couch in my friend Mark's living room. I'd driven to his place after leaving the house, needing somewhere to crash and someone to talk to. Mark had always been my go-to guy, a no-nonsense, tell-it-like-it-is kind of friend. Coffee's in the kitchen, he said when I stumbled into the living room, rubbing my temples. Thanks, I muttered, pouring a cup. He joined me at the table, his expression serious. You're gonna have to deal with this head-on, Luke. What's your plan? I'm calling a lawyer, I said, my voice flat. That's a start, he nodded. But what about Erica? You can't just let her waltz away from this unscathed. His words stuck with me. Erica had shown zero remorse. She was the kind of person who'd light a fire and then walk away while it burned. I couldn't let her get away with it, not entirely. Mark handed me his phone. Start with this guy. He handled my divorce. He's sharp and doesn't take crap from anyone. I nodded, dialing the number. The lawyer, Jack Reynolds, picked up almost immediately. After a brief conversation, we set up a meeting for later that afternoon. By the time I got to Jack's office, I felt slightly more composed, though the anger still simmered beneath the surface. Jack was a tall, lean man with sharp eyes that seemed to miss nothing. He gestured for me to sit and got straight to the point. So, your wife's been cheating, he said, flipping open a notepad. Yeah, I said, feeling the anger bubble up again. And she doesn't even care. She practically threw it in my face. Jack nodded, jotting something down. Did you get any proof? Emails, photos, and a text I saw on her tablet, I said. Good. That's a strong start. Here's what we'll do. Jack laid out a plan that involved gathering more evidence, ensuring the division of assets favored me, and preparing for any tricks Erica might pull. He emphasized staying calm, no matter what she did next. I left Jack's office feeling more focused than I had in days. But as I drove back to my place to grab a few things, I couldn't shake the sense that Erica wouldn't just roll over and accept defeat. She was vindictive, and I knew she'd fight dirty if she had to. When I walked into the house, I found her sitting in the living room, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. Oh, look who's back, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. I'm here to grab my stuff, I said, not meeting her eyes. She smirked. What, you're moving out now? That's mature. I didn't respond. I went straight upstairs, grabbed a duffel bag, and started packing clothes. As I zipped it up, I heard her footsteps behind me. You're seriously leaving? She asked, leaning against the doorframe. Yeah, Erica. I am, I said, my voice cold. Good, she snapped. Maybe this is for the best. You're better at walking away than fixing things anyway. I turned to her, fury flashing in my eyes. Fixing things? You're the one who blew this marriage to hell, Erica. Don't you dare try to pin this on me. She shrugged, her expression annoyingly smug. If you say so. I pushed past her, bag in hand, and headed for the door. But before I could leave, she called out, You're not gonna get everything you want, you know. You're not as smart as you think. Her words lingered as I walked out. What did she mean by that? Later that night, I was at Mark's place, updating him on everything when my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Stay out of this, Luke. You're making things worse for yourself." "What the hell?" I muttered, showing it to Mark. "Do you think it's one of those guys from the bar?" he asked. "Maybe," I said, frowning. "Or maybe it's whoever Erica's been seeing." Mark's expression darkened. "You need to be careful, man. If they're threatening you now, this could get messy." Messy didn't even begin to describe it. I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over, not by a long shot. The next day, I decided to follow up on one of Jack's suggestions, hiring a private investigator. If Erica wanted to play dirty, I'd fight fire with fire. The PI, a woman named Rachel, was efficient and professional. She assured me she'd dig up everything I needed to build my case. "People like your wife always slip up," she said. "It's just a matter of catching them at the right time." I left the meeting feeling cautiously optimistic. But that optimism was short-lived. That evening, as I sat at Mark's place scrolling through emails, I got another message. This one was a photo of me leaving Jack's office. Below it, a message read, "You're poking the wrong bear, Luke." Chills ran down my spine. Someone was watching me. Someone knew my every move. "This is getting out of control," I said to Mark, showing him the message. "You need to bring this to the police," he said, his tone serious. But I hesitated. What would I even tell them? That someone was sending me cryptic threats? Without concrete evidence, it felt like a dead end. For now, I'd focus on the PI's investigation and trust that Jack would help me stay ahead. But deep down, I knew this fight was far from over. Erica wasn't just a cheating wife, she was playing a game, and I had no idea how far she'd go to win. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Rachel, the private investigator. "I've got something," she said, her voice brisk. "Can you meet me at my office in an hour?" Mark overheard the call and raised an eyebrow. "You think she's found something serious?" "Only one way to find out," I said, grabbing my jacket. Rachel's office was nondescript, tucked into a corner of a strip mall. She greeted me with a firm handshake and motioned for me to sit across from her desk. A file folder sat between us. "What did you find?" I asked, my stomach churning. She opened the folder and slid over a few photos. They showed Erica leaving a swanky restaurant, her arm casually draped around the shoulder of a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, fit, with the kind of polished look that screamed money. "This is her guy," Rachel said, pointing to him. "Name's Adrian Blake. Divorced, no kids. Owns a couple of car dealerships downtown." The name sounded vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place it. "Here's where it gets interesting," Rachel continued. "Adrian has a bit of a reputation. Multiple affairs, shady business dealings, and at least 2 exes who claim he's aggressive when things don't go his way." "Sounds like a real catch," I muttered, flipping through the photos. Rachel tapped the edge of the file. "There's more. I followed them to a hotel 2 nights ago. They were there for hours. I also pulled some records. He's been covering her expenses. Hotel bills, gifts, even a payment toward her credit card." I leaned back in my chair, my mind racing. "So, she's not just cheating, she's being funded." "Looks like it," Rachel said. "I thought you'd want to know." "Thanks, Rachel," I said, standing up. "This is exactly what I needed." As I drove back to Mark's place, the weight of it all pressed down on me. Erica wasn't just having an affair, she'd fully aligned herself with this Adrian guy, leaving me to look like a fool. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Erica. "We need to talk." For a moment, I considered ignoring it. But then a thought struck me, what if she knew I was gathering evidence? What if she was planning her next move? I texted back, fine. I'll be home in an hour. When I walked into the house, Erica was waiting for me in the kitchen. She was leaning against the counter, sipping a glass of wine like nothing was wrong. "Glad you could make time," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Let's skip the games, Erica," I said, setting my bag down. "What do you want?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh, don't act so high and mighty, Luke. I just thought we should talk about where this is going." "Where this is going?" I repeated, my voice incredulous. "This is going straight to a divorce lawyer, Erica." Her expression didn't falter. If anything, she seemed amused. "Of course it is. Because that's what you do, Luke. You cut and run when things get tough." I laughed bitterly. "You're unbelievable. You cheat, you lie, and somehow this is my fault?" "Maybe if you'd been paying attention, this wouldn't have happened," she snapped. "Paying attention?" I shouted. "You mean like you paid attention to your wedding vows? Or was that just a warm-up for all the other lies you were planning to tell?" She set her glass down with a loud clink, her eyes narrowing. "You're not as innocent as you like to think. And for the record, I don't need your sanctimonious lectures." I clenched my fists, trying to keep my temper in check. "You've got some nerve, Erica. You've been sneaking around with Adrian Blake, of all people. Did you think I wouldn't find out?" That wiped the smirk off her face. For the first time, she looked genuinely unsettled. "How do you?" "Because I'm not an idiot," I interrupted. "I hired someone to look into it. And guess what? She found plenty." Erica's composure cracked, but only for a moment. Then she straightened, her expression cold. "So what? You think that gives you the moral high ground?" I shook my head, laughing in disbelief. "You're unbelievable. You don't even deny it. You just double down like it's no big deal." She stepped closer, her voice low and venomous. "You always think you're the victim, Luke. But you're not. You're just a placeholder, a safe bet until something better came along." Her words were a slap in the face, but I refused to let her see how deeply they cut. "Enjoy your better, Erica," I said, grabbing my bag and heading for the door. "Because when this is over, you're going to be left with nothing." That night, back at Mark's place, I finally let myself feel the full weight of what had happened. The anger, the sadness, the disbelief, it all came crashing down. "She's not worth it," Mark said, handing me a beer. "Let her dig her own grave." "Yeah," I said, though my voice lacked conviction. But as I stared at the ceiling later that night, one thought kept circling my mind: Erica wasn't done. She was too spiteful, too manipulative to let this end cleanly. And I was right. The next morning, I woke up to a message from my lawyer. "We've got a problem. Call me ASAP." Jack Reynolds picked up on the second ring, his voice sharp and to the point. "Luke, we've got a situation," he said. "What now?" I asked, sitting up in bed, dreading his answer. "Your wife's lawyer sent over some interesting claims this morning," Jack said. "She's alleging emotional abuse and neglect as grounds for her actions. She's trying to paint you as the villain." My jaw dropped. Emotional abuse? Neglect? Are you kidding me? Jack sighed. "Unfortunately, this isn't uncommon. It's a classic move to gain leverage in the divorce proceedings." I rubbed my temples, trying to process. "So, what do we do?" "We push back," Jack said firmly. "We've got evidence of her infidelity, and if this goes to court, her claims will look like retaliation. But it's going to get messy." Messy. That word again. It seemed to be the theme of my life lately. Later that day, I sat across from Jack in his office, going over every detail of Erica's accusations. She claimed I was distant, dismissive, and emotionally unavailable. The irony was almost laughable. "She's trying to flip the narrative," Jack said. "But her timeline doesn't add up. You've got witnesses, friends, family, even co-workers, who can vouch for your character. But this could still hurt me, right?" I asked. "It could," Jack admitted. "Especially if she starts fabricating stories or brings in people to back her up." The thought of Erica dragging my name through the mud made my blood boil. I didn't just want to defend myself, I wanted to expose her for who she really was. As I left Jack's office, my phone buzzed with another message. This time, it was from Rachel, the PI. "We need to meet. I've uncovered something big." I drove to her office immediately, my mind racing with possibilities. When I arrived, she was waiting for me with a grim expression. "Luke, I've been digging into Adrian Blake," she said, gesturing for me to sit. "What did you find?" I asked. She slid a document across the desk. "It turns out, Adrian isn't just some wealthy businessman. He's also involved in several ongoing lawsuits for fraud. And here's the kicker, he's under investigation for coercion and intimidation." My stomach dropped. "Coercion? You mean?" Rachel nodded. "He has a history of manipulating people, especially women, into doing his dirty work. From what I've gathered, it wouldn't be out of character for him to encourage Erica to make these false claims against you." "Unbelievable," I muttered, staring at the document. Rachel leaned forward, her expression serious. "Luke, if Adrian is pulling the strings here, this could escalate. You need to be prepared for anything." That night, I couldn't shake the unease. Erica had already proven she was willing to lie and manipulate. With Adrian backing her, there was no telling how far she'd go. As I lay awake, my phone buzzed again. It was another text from the same unknown number. "Back off, Luke. You're out of your depth." I clenched my jaw, my heart pounding. Whoever was sending these messages wanted me to feel intimidated, to back down. But if they thought I'd roll over, they were dead wrong. The next morning, I woke to chaos. My phone was blowing up with messages and calls from friends and family. When I checked social media, I saw why. Erica had posted a long, dramatic update about our broken marriage. In it, she painted herself as the victim, claiming I was controlling, cold, and dismissive. The comments section was filled with people offering her sympathy and trashing me without knowing the full story. I called Mark immediately. "Have you seen this?" "Yeah," he said, his voice tense. "It's disgusting. She's playing everyone like a fiddle." "I need to set the record straight," I said. Mark hesitated. "Are you sure that's a good idea? She's already made her move. If you respond publicly, it could make things worse." He had a point, but staying silent felt like admitting guilt. I decided to consult Jack before making any moves. When I showed Jack the post, he shook his head. "Typical. She's trying to win the court of public opinion. But responding publicly could backfire. Focus on the legal battle. Let the evidence speak for itself." Reluctantly, I agreed. But it didn't make the situation any easier. Everywhere I went, I felt the weight of people's judgment. Even at work, colleagues avoided eye contact, clearly aware of the drama unfolding online. A few days later, Rachel called with another update. "Luke, I've found something that could turn the tide in your favor," she said. When I arrived at her office, she handed me a USB drive. "What's this?" I asked. "Security footage from the hotel Erica and Adrian were frequenting," Rachel said. "It shows them together, holding hands, kissing, the whole 9 yards. There's no way she can deny the affair now." It was a smoking gun, and I couldn't wait to show Jack. When Jack saw the footage, he grinned. "This changes everything. If she tries to claim emotional abuse, we can use this to discredit her. But I wasn't satisfied with just defending myself. I wanted Erica and Adrian to face consequences for their actions. Can we use this to go on the offensive? I asked. Jack nodded. Absolutely. But you'll need to be ready for the fallout. Erica won't take this lying down. As I left Jack's office, I felt a surge of determination. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was regaining control. But deep down, I knew this fight was far from over. Erica and Adrian had thrown everything they had at me, but now I had the upper hand. The question was, how far would they go to try to take it back? The next morning, I handed the USB drive with the hotel footage to Jack. His face lit up like a kid on Christmas. "This is gold," he said. "We'll submit it as evidence immediately." With this, her credibility takes a major hit. I nodded, but a part of me was still uneasy. Erica had already proven she'd do anything to save face, and Adrian was lurking in the shadows like a puppet master. I couldn't shake the feeling that their next move would be even more sinister. 2 days later, my instincts proved correct. I was at Mark's place, going over the next steps in the divorce with Jack on a video call, when a knock at the door interrupted us. Mark opened it, and standing there was a uniformed police officer. "Luke Carter?" the officer asked, looking past Mark and directly at me. I stood, my stomach tightening. "That's me." The officer stepped inside, holding a folded piece of paper. "You've been served. Temporary restraining order." "What?" I blurted, snatching the document. The officer didn't wait for a response. He handed me the papers, tipped his hat, and left. Mark shut the door, his face a mix of confusion and anger. "What the hell is this about?" I scanned the document, my pulse racing. Erica had filed for the restraining order, claiming she felt unsafe and threatened by me. Jack, still on the video call, cursed under his breath. "This is a classic move. She's trying to box you in, make you look like the aggressor. But it's all lies." I shouted. "I haven't even seen her since I moved out." "It doesn't matter," Jack said. "For now, we have to abide by the order. If you violate it, even accidentally, it could ruin everything." The restraining order was just the beginning. Over the next week, Erica ramped up her smear campaign. Every time I logged into social media or spoke to a mutual friend, I discovered another layer of her lies. She claimed I had anger issues, that I'd been controlling for years, even that I'd tried to sabotage her career. I couldn't believe the lengths she was going to. It wasn't just about winning the divorce anymore, it was about destroying me completely. One night, as I sat at Mark's kitchen table, scrolling through the latest wave of Erica's public accusations, my phone buzzed. It was Rachel, the private investigator. "Luke, I've got something you need to see," she said, her tone urgent. I drove to her office immediately. When I arrived, she wasted no time. "I've been following Adrian Blake more closely," she said, opening her laptop. "And I found something interesting." She played a video clip. It was surveillance footage from a different hotel, recorded just 2 days ago. Adrian was there, but not with Erica. Instead, he was cozying up to another woman. "Wait a second," I said, leaning closer. "Isn't that Samantha Green?" Rachel nodded. "Yep. Erica's best friend." The irony was almost too much to handle. Adrian, the man Erica had thrown her life away for, was cheating on her with her own friend. "Do you think Erica knows?" I asked. "Not yet," Rachel said. "But if she finds out, it could change everything." The next day, I sat down with Jack to discuss our next move. "Do we tell Erica about Adrian's affair?" I asked. Jack frowned. "It's a risky play. If we confront her directly, she might double down out of spite. But if she finds out on her own, it could destabilize her. I mulled it over. As satisfying as it would be to throw Adrian's betrayal in her face, I decided to wait. For now, we'd keep the evidence in our back pocket. Meanwhile, Erica wasn't letting up. She continued to weaponize the restraining order, claiming I was violating it even when I was miles away. She also started dragging my family into the mess, spreading rumors about them to anyone who would listen. It felt like I was fighting a war on multiple fronts, and the stress was starting to take its toll. Mark noticed the change in me one evening as we sat watching a game. "You've gotta take care of yourself, man," he said, handing me a beer. "This fight's not worth losing your sanity over." "I know," I said, though the words felt hollow. A week later, everything came to a head. I was at Jack's office, going over the latest developments, when my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number, but something told me to answer. "Hello?" "Luke Carter," a deep, menacing voice said. "Who's asking?" "You know who we are, you bastard. We're the husbands of those 2 cheating wives you've been involved with." Before I could respond, the line went dead. Jack looked up from his desk. "What's wrong?" I relayed the conversation to him, and his expression darkened. "This could be Adrian stirring the pot. He's trying to rattle you." That night, I decided to go out to clear my head. I found myself at a quiet bar on the edge of town, nursing a drink and trying to forget the chaos for a while. But peace wasn't in the cards. 2 burly men entered the bar and headed straight for me. Before I could react, one of them grabbed my shoulder and spun me around. "You know who we are, you bastard," one of them growled. "We're the husbands of those 2 cheating wives you've been involved with." "I have no idea what you're talking about," I said, standing my ground. But they weren't interested in explanations. One of them swung a fist at me, and I barely dodged in time. The other lunged, but I caught him with a punch to the jaw that sent him stumbling back. The bar erupted into chaos as patrons scrambled to get out of the way. I managed to hold my own, but the fight left me shaken. As I left the bar, bloodied and bruised, one thought kept running through my mind. I limped back to Mark's house after the bar fight, my ribs aching and my mind racing. The attack wasn't random, someone was orchestrating this chaos. It had Adrian's fingerprints all over it. I realized I wasn't just fighting a messy divorce anymore, I was battling an enemy who thrived on manipulation and deceit. The next morning, I called Rachel and filled her in on the attack. She promised to dig deeper into Adrian's connections. Meanwhile, Jack was already preparing to file an official report, ensuring the restraining order Erica had filed wouldn't be weaponized further. "This has gone beyond personal drama," Jack said. "Adrian's playing dirty, and if we don't outmaneuver him, he'll keep escalating." 2 days later, Rachel delivered a bombshell. She'd uncovered a connection between Adrian and the 2 men who attacked me. They were on his payroll, working as security consultants for one of his companies. "This is exactly what we need," Jack said when I told him. "We can tie Adrian directly to the assault. It'll not only discredit him but also expose him as a threat in court." I couldn't hide the satisfaction in my voice. "Let's do it." In the meantime, Erica's carefully crafted house of lies was starting to crumble. Rachel had been feeding me updates about Adrian and Samantha, and word of their affair had finally reached Erica. I found out through a mutual friend that Erica had confronted Adrian in a public meltdown at a high-end restaurant. Witnesses said she'd thrown a glass of wine in his face before storming out. It was poetic justice, but I didn't feel triumphant, just relieved. Adrian had used Erica, just as she'd used me. Now, they were both reaping what they'd sown. When the court date finally arrived, I was ready. Jack presented the hotel footage, Rachel's reports, and evidence linking Adrian to the bar attack. Erica's lawyer tried to spin the narrative, but the judge wasn't buying it. By the end of the hearing, Erica's claims of emotional abuse had been dismissed. The restraining order was lifted, and Adrian's involvement in the assault was under investigation. As I walked out of the courtroom, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in months, I could see a path forward. A week later, I met Erica for what would be our final conversation. She was visibly shaken, the confident facade she'd maintained for so long finally cracking. "I didn't want it to end like this," she said, her voice trembling. "Really?" I replied, my tone even. "Because it seems like you went out of your way to burn every bridge between us." She didn't have an answer for that. Instead, she muttered something about starting over, as if she could erase everything she'd done. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I said before walking away. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. The divorce settlement was finalized, and I managed to keep most of what mattered: my home, my reputation, and my dignity. Erica faded into the background, while Adrian faced mounting legal troubles that eventually consumed him. Mark and I celebrated with a quiet night at home, a few beers, and a simple toast. "To freedom," he said, raising his bottle. "To new beginnings," I replied. Looking back, I realized the experience had taught me more than I ever wanted to know about betrayal, resilience, and the strength it takes to rebuild. If I had one piece of advice for anyone in a similar situation, it would be this: don't let someone else's lies define you. Stand your ground, fight for the truth, and never lose sight of who you are. Because in the end, the truth has a way of coming out, and when it does, it's worth every battle scar.